Hello there and welcome to Il Salotto Sessions. I am Sara Seravalli, an Italian event organizer with a profound enthusiasm for design and architecture, bringing over 15 years of experience from my work across showrooms in Milan, Paris, and London. Fueled by a passion for connecting people in the design world, I founded Design Pop-Up in 2014, a specification-focused event, and that has since traveled throughout the UK and Ireland. Today, I'm expanding my vision with Il Salotto, a vibrant space, both virtual and physical, dedicated to inspiring meaningful conversations and fostering connections within the design community. I hope you'll enjoy my chats. Hello, and welcome to this new episode of Il Salotto Sessions. Today, I'm with Narinder Sagoo, Senior Partner and Art Director and Foster & Partners. Narinder is also a MBE. I've known Narinder for a long time and very much looking forward to this chat with him. Enjoy! I don't know how to put this without being too corny or cheesy, but you are probably the most gentlemanly and kind person I've ever met in my life. You always have a nice word for people, and you always supported me. You know, I am such a small fish in the pond, but you always found time to help me with architecture meets art and everything. So I was actually laughing at this because I said, in a world where there is still too many leaders that think that by shouting and being not nice, they get more power and they get followed better. People like you are like actually such a beacon, you know, it gives us hope that we can still do the work we need to do and be successful, but being kind at the same time.
That's very kind of you to say. But I think it's to do with our upbringing. You know, you either grow up with that knowing the values of respect and knowing the values of leadership from a very early age when you grow up with your grandparents and these incredible wise figures around you, that they start to carve your methods of leading a team, you know, working, you know, leading within the community, leading within the industry and so on. And there, like you said, there are various directions you can go in. And one of them is to stand in front of people and shout and ask them to do what you want them to do. And the other one is kind of, which you have to do, is lead from the front and lead from behind, and constantly do that and do it with humility and respect. And you get more out of people. I think it's just a more pleasurable way of living life.
I totally agree. You know, kindness gets so much further than abuse and bullying behavior and things like that. Yeah. So where did you get your inspiration from? Who was your role model growing up?
My grandmother, I was one of those kids who spent so much time at home with my grandparents that they were both my role models. They were all I had in life in terms of, and all I wanted to be. And to this day, I think somebody in architecture, in the industry, in the practice, or at home, every day I think back to those times of learning about respect and learning about love and learning about kindness. And I always say to people, my grandmother was my first mentor. She was my first team member. She was the one who used to encourage me to draw by not showing me how to draw, and but just giving me this, and I call it the grandmother effect, which is not showing people what to do and how to do it, but just giving people a sense of encouragement by saying, that's amazing, do another one, draw more, you're so good at it, you must do this more. And I still use that. I use that in the office, I use that at home with my own children. And so in many ways, I learned so much from her without even her knowing. And that grandma effect, I think, is going back to your point about leadership, that if you have the humility and confidence to use that as a way of being in your daily life, you get so much more out of it. So early on, we didn't have much money. We grew up in a tiny house, 2-bedroom house in Leeds, which is still a really poor area, a poor part of Leeds, Beeston. And they're terraced houses, a little bit like in the film East is East. And a cobbled street in the back and no front garden and, with trees. But, pretty nice local park, which is quite dangerous nowadays. But we grew up there, not going on holiday. There was 8 of us who lived in that 2-bedroom house. At one point, my aunts lived there as well. So I used to think it was the biggest house in the world because I had so much love around me. And so the physical space didn't matter at all. And I used to use drawing as a way of escaping. And I found drawing was this kind of amazing kind of and really simple way of disappearing in my mind as a child. I could start drawing, like playing, like every child has had this experience of playing and disappearing, and only until your mother or grandmother's shouting that dinner's ready or lunch is ready that you wake up and you come back into the real world. And
sometimes it's so hard. I can see my 5-year-old daughter. I can shout and call for dinner like 10 times, and she's still in her own wee world drawing. She loves crafting, so she's a bit artistic like you. And as you say, she just lives in another planet. It's quite magical to see.
Well, the reason I mention it too is because I try every day to go into that same world in my mind, try to still use drawing to disappear. I can be in an office of hundreds of people in a meeting where everybody's watching and I've got the pen and I'm about to draw. And as soon as I start drawing, I disappear. I know everyone's there, but I disappear into this magical world of exploring what's going on inside my mind. So it's those kind of childhood years are so key to developing the creative mind.
I don't have the grandma effect, unfortunately, but I did have a teacher in primary school that she was very artistic herself. So I still have some of the pieces we've done together. And I think for a kid to have this space where they can, run their imagination wild is quite special. And it's really incredible that you can still go back there whenever you want. You still kept that magical element. So I'm a bit jealous, to be fair, but there you go. So you've been at Foster and Partners for a long time. And again, that's something I'm very jealous of because I never managed to stay in the same company for longer than 2 years. I am a bit in awe of these people that I have an incredible career in the same place. So what happened in the last 30 years?
Well, just going back to childhood again, I used to think that success, because some of my role models in my life, my uncles around me and others, mostly it was men in those days, I have to say, which now I'm lucky my girls have so many female role models like yourself. But in those days, I used to think success was not money. I didn't know about money. We didn't have any. I used to think success was you get one job and you stick to it for the rest of your life. And then you retire and you get this incredible kind of journey that you can look back on, and you grow and grow and you use your wisdom over that career to inspire other people. And then one day you stop working and enjoy life, and to this day, I still have those same role models in my life. Some of my uncles I caught up with last weekend at a family event, and I told them, I said, you were everything to me in terms of following this path or a career path. That's what I looked up to. So early on, I think that led me to believe that I need to be very wise about the choices I make And architecture, which we could talk about why I studied architecture, but in architecture, I thought very early on, who am I going to work with, not for, who am I going to work with? And I think the word selection is really important, because if you're creating self-affirmations in your mind and projections of yourself in the future, you have to be very, very clear about the words you're using to talk to yourself. So I remember saying, I want to work with Norman Foster. I don't want to work for him. I want to work with Norman Foster. And I thought, right, I can see myself doing that for the rest of my life. And every day is step forward and on that journey and never take it for granted. I never thought for an instance that I would work somewhere and then move and go somewhere else and go somewhere else. I just had that mindset of choose, make the right decision, find your dream, follow it with, and put every fiber of your being into achieving that goal. And nothing came
easy. That's incredibly wise, very, very wise. I mean, especially if you started with that thought at the very beginning. Hats off to you for being so focused.
Well, the other thing that not a lot of people know is, and I've mentioned kind of, we had very humble family life in terms of kind of, just it was day to day, everyone earning money day to day and sometimes not having enough for food. And as a child, no one should really go through that. And I remember kind of clearly, my mum would make kind of sometimes a masala Indian kind of base, but there would be nothing in it. There's no meat, no vegetables, nothing, because we just didn't have any money at the end of the week. Queuing in the queue in the line in cold weather like this to tell the mortgage company that we just can't make the payment this week. Is it possible to? So that difficult life, which I'm sharing because a lot of young people I work with nowadays have similar challenges in their lives, and I think it's important to share where we've come from to give some inspiration to others. But in that environment, you have no choice other than to aspire to succeed. If we'd had everything in the world and all the money, perhaps I would have chosen a different path that kind of explored different things but I had no choice other than to succeed. And it's very easy to say that now, but it gives you ultimate focus. So even when people would say, you should stop drawing, you're never going to make any money out of drawing, do something proper, just you blank it out, or you use those comments, you use those challenges that people have set you to do even better,
Yeah, well, definitely keep drawing, Narinder. We need you to draw, keep drawing. So don't listen to these guys. So I was reading this article. So you hosted a very nice, interesting event at the Solus showroom in Clerkenwell last May, and I was reading the notes from it. Your team is now 40 people.
We're 46. We keep growing.
So how many pictures do you do in a day, or what actually is the art department of Norman Foster do? What do you guys do?
So we are the practice has grown so much. We've grown very rapidly this year, more than any other time in the history of the practice. We've got over 100 projects on site. We've got about 500 projects live in the studio at the moment, and we have a really beautiful culture of just nurturing talent, nurturing success, nurturing curiosity, innovation in the studio. And going back 29 years when I started, there was just me drawing by hand every project day to day, one after the other. And you realize that you can't do that as the practice grows. You need more hands. And I remember early on somebody saying, Narinder, you need to grow a team. We need another Narinder and maybe two Narinders. And you think, what do you mean? And you're very proud of your accomplishments, and somebody just says, we need a few more of you. And I realized very early on, that's not what they meant, or maybe they did, but for me, the way I understood that was nobody wants to be a clone of somebody else. And nobody wants to just do what I do and copy it and, you know, and become another Narinder. But I wanted to grow a team where everyone can do what each other does. You know, I have people in my team who can draw way better than I can, but they have their own individuality and their own skills. So you have, and now I'm surrounded by, and also the greatest advice that I got very early on was employ people better than you. Always take on people better than you, and that takes a huge degree of confidence in yourself. You need to be humble enough to be able to allow that. But those two pieces of advice allowed me to grow, I think, just the best team I could ever dream of. And we've got 46 artists who are also architects and have come from different design backgrounds, mostly architecture. And so we're not just a team of illustrators, if you like. We're designing and drawing and using so many different types of drawing, both analog and digital. But people have, I'm so proud of the team because everybody enjoys it just as much as I do. I enjoy it even more. And everybody has a feeling of, I can't believe I get paid to do this because it's so much fun. My theory at the beginning of how to grow that team has kind of worked in a way, and I'm really pleased with that. And going back to what you said at the beginning about leadership, I always feel the only hierarchy in the team is experience and talent, curiosity. And so that could be the newest person who's just joined the team, and they could be the most experienced person. I had two graduates who graduated last year from the Bartlett School of Architecture who have started a new type of drawing in the team, which is cinematic, moving artwork. It's a new team within the team. And I was very fortunate to be, I was the inaugural guest speaker at the Bartlett graduation ceremony for UCL at Royal Festival Hall last year. And these two new graduates in my team were part of the graduating group of that year. So it was really beautiful to have them join my team and then be at their graduation ceremony. And then yesterday, we had a client presentation to a wonderful client in Lisbon, and I asked them to present. And they were a little bit surprised. I could see the surprise because they think, well, I've only been here a year. One of them's only been here less than 3 months. His probation meeting is tomorrow for his 3 months, you know. But I asked him to present to the client yesterday, and he was exceptional. He was way better than I could have been in because he brings forward his own personal passion and love of what he does, and it really came across to the client. So the only hierarchy in a team should be and experience and, you know, skills as well. And that's, you know, talking about leadership, it's a very different way of leading a team than others might perceive, but it brings the most amount of success, I think.
Yeah, I was having a chat with you and Imri from Collective Architecture the other day about one of the other projects they've done. Collective, I don't know if you remember, they won the AJ Practice of the Year a number of years ago.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I'm now a judge for the Herald Property Awards, which is a Scottish award. So I get to see quite a lot of their projects. And this year, they had like 3 awards. They won 3 awards on the night. So they were really like, you know, every time we announced a shortlist, they were in there. So I asked this question to Ewan and I say, how do you manage to have so much talent in one practice that you know, every project you do is so exceptional? And he said something very similar to you. It's about nourishing the talent, is about recognizing, is about giving opportunities, which is really inspiring, the fact that in big practices, well, Foster and Partners is much bigger than Collective, but Collective is not a small practice either. And you guys despite you're busy and despite you are on top of the league, top what, you still have this beautiful attitude of nourishing the next generation and allowing somebody to express themselves. I think is very special.
Yeah, it is. And you have to, at some point in your career, think it's not about me anymore. It's about the next generation and what they're going to do for the practice. You know.
So very similarly, you also had this year a beautiful trip to Nepal. Again, that was one of your charity projects. So you went to Nepal to teach kids how to draw.
Well, I have an Achilles heel. My biggest problem is I can't say no to things. And if it's anything to do with sharing my story, like today, or sharing inspiration, inspiring the next generation, working with underprivileged parts of society, and so on, which is kind of pulls me into the fortunate world of being able to work with different charities. But I can't say no. I always say yes. And last year I created a unique piece of artwork to be auctioned for a charity called LP4Y, which is Life Projects for Youth. And it's a French charity, but it's a global charity. And most of their work is done in Southeast Asia. It's done in countries where mostly 80 to 90% young women can't find a career path beyond high school. Achieving kind of a high school education is fantastic. It's a super achievement, but then they mostly get persuaded culturally, as well as kind of in terms of their social expectations, to go into raising a family, looking after extended families, working, and so on. And so their paths are kind of cut off. And so I said yes to producing a piece of artwork for this auction. And I did a huge piece of a drawing which was depicting a future of in 100 or so years' time. And we also made a little film, and we had the auction, and we raised about over £100,000 in one evening, and my drawing raised about 8,000 in that evening, which was absolutely fantastic. And then the founder, Laure Delaporte, she was there, and she said, "Narinder, would you come to Nepal with us in April?" And I said, "Yeah, of course I will. I can't say no." And so April came really quickly, and all of a sudden we were organizing this trip. And my friends at Solace, who and because we've all kind of
we were all together
in the past. We were all together. I asked them. They just happened to be in the office one day, and because they had bought one of my drawings from another auction.
My auction. They bought your drawing in my auction. We are all connected.
So you're responsible for my trip to Nepal. I forgot about that. Okay. That's amazing. So they came in with the drawing that they bought at your auction, and they said, "Can we come and have a photograph with you and have a chat?" And they just happened to be here, and I talked to them about Nepal and sponsorship and so on. Not I could have paid for it, but sponsorship's one of those ways of connecting other people into what you're doing. They said, Sam and Ian just said, "We'll pay for it."
Well, they are very well. First of all, they are artists themselves, so they totally get what you're doing, and I think you share quite a lot of inspiration there. But then they have this incredible tool, Solus, that be able to support projects like this that are are so important. I think reading by what happened down there, you really changed those girls' lives. You gave them an opportunity to think outside of the box and see a future that otherwise they wouldn't have seen.
Well, the charity is amazing, and they go into, and I did it when I was there as well. We went into some slums and went into the poorer parts of Kathmandu and the outskirts of Kathmandu. which is interestingly one of the most polluted cities in the world. I was so close to the Himalayas and Everest, but we couldn't see it. We bring these young women into the centres, and they embark on this 3-month or 6-month journey where they come in every day. They can bring in their babies and their children, and it's beautiful. They have a creche, and the girls take it in turns to look after each other's children every day. And they learn skills to do with using a computer, interview skills, putting their CV together, learning English and how to speak, and if you get a job, and how to pursue an occupation. And so I wondered how I might be able to add to something that's already so beautifully successful. So I took drawing as a way of them visualizing their dreams. So one thing we've already mentioned is how I used to do that as a child, right? And my beginning of my career, and that level of affirmation. And drawing is a very powerful way of visualizing anything. But if you can draw your dreams, draw your ambitions, you have a huge chance of them manifesting themselves in your life. And I wish I could take credit for it, but it's my wife's idea that she gave my girls these sketchbooks, which she called dream diaries. And my children wake up every morning, and as soon as they open their eyes, and sometimes their eyes are half shut, they draw their dreams every morning. And so we printed a few hundred dream diaries with inspirational quotes on top and so on. And we took pencils with quotes on the side of the pencils. Draw your dreams every day, question everything, use drawing to explore the world around you, never take anything for granted, draw together, and we took these dream diaries and we gave them to the girls, and I encouraged them to draw every day. But together, what we did was I got them to draw each other. So I took a sketchbook, which I have here actually, and I would sketch them during the day when they were kind of having their workshops and things. And I would write down things that they were saying, or I'd heard some of the catalysts and the volunteers in the charity saying, which was so inspirational. So I got them to draw each other, sit together, and ask each other, what are your dreams? And they would draw a portrait. And then they would write down that my friend wants to be a bank manager. My friend wants to have her own restaurant. My friend wants to work with disabled children. I remember one of them saying, because her brother was in a wheelchair. And so they were talking and drawing and writing down and drawing their dreams. So they would draw a portrait, and then behind the portrait, they would draw the restaurant or the shop or the bank or the hotel in the Himalayas or whatever, to visualize what their friend's dream was. It was the start of we kind of made it up on the spot. I made it up as we went along, but it was really successful because they were given another tool to achieve.
Sounds utterly magical as well.
It was. The sad thing is, also I must mention, the charity does an incredible job of finding these locations, finding these volunteers, and the success rate is incredible. The village outside Kathmandu, where I was for a few days, we cook together, we eat together. The girls actually live there in the village that's more rural. They have accommodation there as well. Sadly, about a month ago, there was heavy rainfall and floods in Kathmandu, and most of that centre has been destroyed. So the beautiful buildings that were recently built by local architects who I met out there, I wanted to congratulate them. They created these incredible rammed earth structures, steel and rammed earth, flexible space for people like me to do these workshops. They've been flooded and just flooded with mud and debris, and they're going to take months to bring them back to where they were, or some of the buildings might not be able to be fixed at all. So we're now, need to start another journey in raising money to hope to rebuild the centres that I visited. So it's an ongoing.
Well, I'll put the link of this charity to this episode notes, so
Please.
People can hopefully help with a little bit of donation. Yeah. So and also when we promote it on social media, we can just add the link of the charity, and hopefully that will help. You know, you described it so beautifully. It's impossible not to support them now.
I hope so. It's impossible for me not to support them because. You know, and this whole conversation links together because I'm always interested in these charities and these events, because I feel if there's another 8-year-old Narinder somewhere in the world that loves drawing but has been constantly told that they will not achieve anything in life and everything is against them in terms of their environment, then we must be involved with them and talk to them
and show them that it's not true.
It's not true. And you need sponsorship. You need these you need donations and things to make these things happen. Otherwise, nothing works without that as part of the mechanism.
Yeah, and then we are more fortunate, so we can help.
Yeah. So even if you don't donate, you know, even if you're kind of sharing a story, doing a podcast like this, and your generosity of sharing that it goes a long way.
Going on a completely different route, I was at the Hydro on Sunday for a concert.
Yeah. Oh, are you?
Yeah, we went to see the Corrs, which is, you know, the Irish band. They're really, really good. Yeah. So I was there and thinking before the music started, has he always had that shape?
I was kind of involved on both the Hydro and the SECC. Yeah. I remember I've got a really fond memory of the SECC because my friend who used to work here, I'm still friends with him, Alan Martin, used to do hand-drawn sketches at Foster's before I started. I remember him doing this beautiful section of the SECC, hand-drawn. And I walked up to him because I was just so interested in the way he was drawing. And he gave me a pen and said, sit down, draw with me. Oh, it was so amazing, you know, just in terms of teamwork and so on. But working on these projects, you realize that sometimes the final form of the building and the final solution, just if you've done your job well as an architect or in the design team, an engineer, whoever you are, however you're involved, a contractor, if you've done your job well, speaking just about design now, then the final solution should look inevitable. Like it could be nothing else. This is what it has to be. But the truth is that it takes hundreds of ideas, everyone's thoughts, lots of explorations of different solutions and journeys through the design process that ultimately end up with that kind of final object. So when you say, has it always been that shape? Probably not. It ended up being that shape. And hopefully it's a big success.
It's a huge success. It's such a big gift for the city of Glasgow. And city of Glasgow is, obviously, when I moved up to Scotland 12 years ago, I didn't know Glasgow as well as I know it now. And is such an incredible place. The number of culturally and, you know, between theatres and music, but also sport events and things like that and all the museums. We got some stunning museums now. The Barrel Corrections just finished and it's such a beautiful building. I remember at the 12 years ago, there is this Kingston Bridge that is the bridge of the motorway. As you drive into city centre, you would look outside on your left and you would see you could see the Hydro, the Cranston Tower, and then the Armadillo next to it. And it was such a beautiful view, especially at night when all the Hydros got the beautiful colours like that. But now it's covered by blocks of student accommodation. I said, why did you do that? Well, why do you spend so much money creating such a beautiful building and then cover it up with blocks of student accommodation? I am absolutely gutted. Yeah.
I was really lucky when I came back. I went to the Bartlett School of Architecture after my year out here. And then when I came back, and I was still working at Foster's throughout studying, But when I came back, I was very lucky to work on the Gherkin on 30 St Mary's Axe. And it's such an extraordinary building. Really, it was revolutionary in all sorts of ways, environmental science, as well as not forgetting that not a tall building hadn't been built in London for so long. You know, Tower 42, which was called, you know, the NatWest Tower, and, you know, buildings going up in Canary Wharf. So for us to build that building, it was groundbreaking in so many ways, and in architecturally speaking too, which is kind of obvious. But now you can't see it. It's surrounded by, you know, other amazing buildings. 20 Bishopsgate, you know, there's the cheese grater by our friends at Roger Stirk Harbour, and there's the walkie-talkie, and, you know, and everything's surrounded it. So it's now something you have to find and explore.
Yeah, it's a real shame. There should be a rule like, you know, my favorite building in London is St. Paul's, right? But then that's the rule, that St. Paul's needs to be visible from everywhere around the city. So why don't we scatter the standing buildings so that we can all enjoy them instead of cramping them in the same place? Well,
see, my point being that at the time, the Gherkin was just, you know, you could see it from everywhere. But now, you know, we accept that you can't see it, and we're fine with it, because if it wasn't for that building, the other buildings would not have been possible. It broke the mold. It broke the mold about design, you know, about building tall buildings within that area, respecting St. Paul's view cones and so on. So in the same way, I mean, comparing it to the hydro and things around it, sometimes you create something that is just this catalyst, this incredible energy that allows everything else to happen. You know what I mean? And it becomes, architecture then becomes the piece of the jigsaw, or the piece of the machine that unlocks or puts everything else into motion and allows it all to start spinning and start working. So, and architecture can be a really wonderful thing in that way. It can bring prosperity. It can change an entire city.
Communities, yes, absolutely. It can change people's lives, 100%. But I still miss my view of the hydro from the Kingston Bridge.
That was a lovely view across the bridge.
Listen, just to sum this up, because I know you're very, very busy. So in terms of success, you know, you are MBE. I've never interviewed an MBE, right? So I felt a bit of the pressure today. My neighbor is actually an MBE. She's another extraordinary lady. She's a double amputee. She lost hands and feet because of sepsis, and then she started a charity called Finding Your Feet that supports people that is missing some limbs. So she was recently made an MBE as well, and she's such an inspirational lady, and I'm very lucky that she's my neighbor. So sometimes she comes up for a coffee, and then, you know, we try to support her and everything. Anyway, Corinne Harton, she's incredible. But anyway, MBE. What did it mean for you? I mean, it's huge.
Gosh, it's been a year now, and it was an interesting time. You know, I'm a Sikh, and our values in Sikhism is about always helping people, allowing everyone to prosper. We have this wonderful phrase in our prayers, which I read every day, or listen to every day, and it's Sarbat da Pala, Sarbat da Pala. And it means welfare of all. It means may everyone prosper in everything you do. So I've been really lucky in that childhood, in that kind of those times of adversity and struggles. I had this strong faith, which was all about serving the community. It was all about the free kitchen in the Gurdwara where I grew up. And it was all about putting other people first. It's been crucial to my life, I think. And I'm very, very lucky that I work in an environment here at Boston Partners where Norman and everyone has supported pro bono projects and individual initiatives and for myself particularly, I've been supported throughout my entire career to help others and be involved in different charities. And it's been something that's just been continuous. So to then be nominated for an MBE, and I remember getting the letter from the Prime Minister and my wife calling me really excited that you know, the Prime Minister's put you forward to the King to receive this honour. there's a part of me at the time, I'll be honest, didn't know what to do with it, because as a Sikh, your charity, your seva has to be selfless service, and it should be an unsaid, unseen thing that you just do. And particularly when it became public, it kind of went into, I had this whole weekend of not knowing what to say or do. I almost felt it was too much. It's a very light medal. It weighs hardly anything, but the weight of responsibility is huge. And then I could think of, I suddenly thought of hundreds of reasons why one must accept an honor like this, because the value of it is not a value to yourself personally. It's lovely to have a recognition by His Majesty the King. There's no better feeling. It was incredible. But I see it as not just a value to myself, but more so a value to other people around me. So when I met His Royal Highness Prince William at Windsor Castle, I said to him, I want to say thank you. And I said, I just feel a huge amount of gratitude and for those around me who supported me. But I feel like from this day forward, the platform has got wider.
Yep.
For other people to stand on with me, and for me to use that, the value of that honor to support other people, even more so than I could have done before. So it has accelerated things that those kind of initiatives that I've always been in love with, even more so this year. And I hope so more in the future as well.
I'm sure it will, because yes, I totally understand that charity is about helping others, it's not about showing off. But then again, just the fact that you're talking about it, just the fact that you're recognized for it, all of a sudden these charities you're helping get more popularity, they get better known from other people, and the message spreads around. And say, if Narinder supports them, then is obviously something that's worthwhile supporting, and more people will come on board and help each other. So yeah, in Italy, we've never been an empire, so member of the British Empire doesn't really work. So we call a similar recognition is called Il Cavaliere della Repubblica, so it's the Knight of the Republic.
Wow.
Which I think is to me, it sounds so much better. You could be the Knight of the King, a bit like King Arthur and the Round Table.
Yeah.
I'm not that enamored with the fact that I love the UK because it's so full of history and tradition. Scotland, their kilts and their ceilidhs and their burn supper, and all of the UK is full of rituals and traditions, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah.
But empire, is it still relevant?
Well,
sorry, that's me being a bit provocative here.
No. I think it's a very good question, and because that might have been the one reason that one would not accept an honor to be part of. Historically, the British Empire. We all know the history. We can all read about it, and that might have been one of the reasons that one would not accept it. But like I said, I could think of 1,000 reasons to accept it, and use that platform to do 100, 1,000 more things, and it has a different kind of value. I mean, as a Sikh, we upheld our identity during the times of the empire, and we were very much closely associated with protecting the region of Punjab and protecting India through historical troubles. And when the British were in India, we were still quite a formidable army. And if anything, historically, we've contributed to both world wars. We've been part of the kind of military success of the empire, as it were, over times, and of this country. So we're very, very proud of that connection. And I think one must kind of, with all knowledge and intelligence, kind of accept the past, but think about how positive this incredibly diverse and powerful country that we live in can be in the future. And of course, as a Sikh, I've worn a crown all my life, right? Since I was 4 years old, I've been wearing this crown. So royalty is in our blood.
100%. Listen, Narinder, thank you very much for this. I'm gonna add a new, how do you call it? A new label next to your name. Is not only the kindest man, you also become the wisest man I know.
Bless you. Thank you so much. Thank
No,
you for
not
everything
at
you've
all.
done for me.
No,
You've given
no,
so many opportunities, and I love how our stories kind of feed, you know, through different people, through everyone we know.
Yeah.
It just shows how amazing, you know, a sense of community within different industries can be. I'm really grateful for it.
So I just briefly explain you what I'm doing now in Glasgow. So setting up my own space in the merchant city, that's very much meant to be a place for people to come together, you know. And it's conversations like this, as you say, that generate new ideas and inspire one another, and we can all work together. So once it is open, hopefully in March, I would love you to have you up and as a guest. And there is a new kind of events running in Scotland, probably is being in London as well. They're called Sip and Draw, and there is like an artist that obviously you have a very relaxed atmosphere. You have a glass of wine, but then this artist teaches you how to draw an art of some form. And I was talking about this with Emma that works with me, and she said, yeah, we could do a Narinder and Negroni night.
That sounds great. That sounds fantastic. You know, I have a problem with saying no.
I'll take advantage of it then.
Yeah, maybe we do that, and maybe we could link it into, link it into some of the charitable work that we've done together as well.
100%. And your project in Nepal and trying to raise some money for them. Absolutely.
I would love that. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you very much for listening Il Salotto Sessions. If you enjoyed the chat, please make sure you share with your friends as well as follow our podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcast. For more information on what we do, please visit ilsalotto.design and designpopup.com. You can also find us on Instagram _designpopup and Il Salotto Glasgow, as well as LinkedIn. Should you have any feedback, questions, or suggestions, please do get in touch at hello@ilsalotto.design. We would love to hear from you. Thank you very much.